Today's video, we're gonna talk about how to learn PPC. If you don't go through this process, you're never gonna learn how to actually truly make millions of dollars running ads for your business. Through Google ads, through Facebook ads, doesn't matter what you're doing. I'm gonna more so focus on Google ads since that's what most of you guys are trying to do. But fundamentally, advertising online comes down to these 4 things that I'm gonna cover here, and you gotta understand the process of going through and actually learning these things. For the most part, most information you find online about how to advertise is given to you by people who don't advertise, they're not successful, they're not already making millions of dollars themselves. This is all I do, and I'm very successful at it. And I'm gonna tell you how I started when I was 20 years ago, when I started advertising online, started doing this for an e-commerce business that I ran. So I've actually run businesses myself and advertised them and became very successful before starting consulting clients on the same thing. How you should actually do it yourself as well, regardless of you serving clients, you're running a PPC agency, or you're just a company that's just trying to sell your product or service, whatever you're doing. So I will go through all those details in this video, and then of course what the process is so you can learn this for yourself. So getting into the content, first of all, I just want to say right up front, okay, if you don't play with your own money and have your own skin in the game, you will never, ever learn how to be a truly, truly successful PPC person. Now, to tell you, I've mentioned this, one of the places that I hang out online, other than YouTube, and actually I don't hang out on YouTube that much because most of the information on YouTube isn't very good. Because again, like I was mentioning before, it's given to you by people who are pretenders. They're trying to say that they're an ad expert, but they don't really run any ads themselves. They run an agency, they have somebody else doing the work. They really aren't in the weeds doing it, so therefore they don't know really much. On Reddit, you got actual people running campaigns, and they're talking about their experiences, and I see all the new posts. Ultimately, in terms of the PPC Reddit, the biggest one with over 200,000 members, and what I routinely say to people, and I stopped doing it because I feel like it's fruitless, and it's part of the reason why I made this video here today. I mentioned to people there that are primarily working with clients. There's some companies trying to make their ads work, asking questions there, but it's mostly guys like me working with clients. I mentioned to them, and occasionally the question will come up, how do I learn how to do PPC for clients? Or how do I make sure I can get my clients good results? And my response is, you're never gonna actually make money for your clients unless you go out there and start a business yourself and force yourself to learn how to make it profitable. Only then are you even should be charging clients to manage their ads. Because frankly, anybody could do this. This isn't like I'm saying, go start a rocket ship and fly to space so you know what space is like. This is simple stuff. Anybody could go start a small drop shipping store or a small drop servicing store where you're trying to generate calls for tree services, and you just sub out that work to another local vendor and prove to yourself how to run ads for your own business so that you could actually charge somebody with a good conscience and say that you know how to do this because you put yourself in their shoes and you proved to yourself that you could do it. So when you charge, you're charging for something that you've done. If you've never done it and you charge them, in my opinion, it's halfway to a scam, because ultimately it's like saying I'm going to be a roofer, but I've never roofed a house. I mean, seriously, yeah, I've roofed them for customers technically, and therefore I know about it. And that's really not the perfect analogy, of course, but the main thing you've got to know is the best people that know how to run ads, it's true, and I've heard people say this before. Corey, if you knew how to do what you're doing, you would do it yourself. Well, I have done it myself. I've got e-commerce businesses that I also run in addition to running this agency. And it is the reality. Ultimately, if you know so much about ads, you could run businesses yourself and you could generally, make more money. Now, the counter to that point is I charge a lot of money. So for what we charge for our clients to do their work, it's actually just as profitable as running my own e-commerce company. If you were charging a little bit, it wouldn't be the case. So that it would absolutely be true. Ultimately, you run a campaign, and it's like, to give you another perfect analogy here, if you are a person trying to learn how to trade stocks and you only have a demo account and you're doing it with fake money, you're really never going to learn how to run and day trade stocks or cryptocurrency or whatever you're doing by not playing with your own money. Only when it's your real money are you going to actually learn anything. So it's not so much as I'm high and mighty and I think my shit doesn't stink. I'm not saying it for them. I'm legitimately trying to help you here. So hopefully you can take it in a non-offensive way. You got to play with your own real money in order to learn it, because that's where you're going to learn the actual facts about this stuff, what works and what doesn't work. And then in the process, you're going to learn how to serve a client. Of course, if you're, a company itself, or if you're, working with clients, either way, there's 4 key parts of every campaign that makes it work. There's the ad, or the message to the would-be buyer. There's the landing page. There's the targeting, who gets to see the ad, and the tracking. Of course, those are the 4 pieces of the puzzle that you're always focusing on, regardless if it's Google search ads, Facebook ads, doesn't matter, if you will. And of course, there's a million different variants of how to do this. You can run content campaigns, and you can create a funnel, and somebody watches my one video, I can have them see 3 other videos and then hit them with the sales video. Or I could be doing super simple stuff. I could just, when somebody types in tree service near me, my ad pops up and I'm getting them to opt in for our tree services and everything in between. The main thing is, though, when you're just starting out trying to learn PPC, if you will, you got to understand where to pick your battles, because most people do is they do one of 2 things when they're starting out that causes them to fail. One, they think it's, and this is just generally applies to everything. When I started making this YouTube channel, it was super simple, but I thought, you just need a camera and da-da-da-da-da. No, you get into something thinking it's simple, then you realize how complicated it is when you try to actually do it correctly and succeed at it. When you start running your PPC ads, you think it's simple. Oh, I only just need an ad and I'll send them to my website and I'm making money already. I'm going to be rich. This is awesome. And then you realize that you don't make any money from trying it, and then you give up, potentially. Or you get mad and you say, I'm going to learn this no matter what. And you go on to the next stage of it, of which you either realize that this is going to be a process of learning it to actually become a multi-millionaire running ads for yourself, or you're going to get overwhelmed and say, there's too much shit here to me that I've learned that I have to learn. And you're just going to give up out of frustration, throw your hands up in the air. Screw this. I'm not doing this anymore. This is way too complicated. A lot of people get to my channel where I talk about the specifics of this stuff, and that's what they do because they don't want it to be hard. If anything that made you multi-millions were easy, everybody would do it, and there would be no value there. The value is doing more than your competition in the market that you want to be in, know more about it than them, and you can win. And of course, you can hire somebody that knows more than your competition, but then you still need money. And I can tell you, as I've mentioned on other videos before, hiring somebody to run your ads and make you a multimillionaire, you're not going to get this done for $500 a month. It's going to be thousands a month, and you're going to have to throw money at it in terms of extra money for ad spend, thousands a month. And you're going to have to run your ads at a loss for a while to collect data, do testing. And, unless you got 10, 20, 30 grand to throw at it in a lot of cases, you're not going to ever get it profitable still. So, you can either learn this stuff yourself and not spend all that money, or you could throw a bunch of money at it and still get there. But it's not going to be easy. And once you realize it's not easy, that's the first step in actually getting to the point where you will go on to make millions for yourself, doing PPC for yourself, for your business. So for that matter, these 4 parts of the puzzle, the ad, the landing page, the tracking, and the targeting, what you ultimately end up doing, that as you need to figure out as you go through this journey of learning how to do it for yourself, you take turns optimizing which one of these 4 you're doing at the given time. The average person's going to say, oh, I just did them all, I'm done already. Well, there's no done to it. There's always another thing you can do to run another ad, test another ad. It's never ending, frankly. Your job is never done, which is, going back to what I was saying before, if your job is, or what you're thinking is, oh, I just got to hire somebody and they'll know how to set it up right and I'm done. No, it's never going to be run on autopilot. You're always going to have to tweak. The market's always going to change. The platform's always going to change. You're going to have to stay on top of this. So if you're going to go down this route, it's going to be an never-ending journey of learning. And of course, once you get at a certain point, you're going to crush your competition. That absolutely is available. And can be done by anybody. I don't care if you're not a genius, doesn't matter. You just got to learn the components that make it work, and that's it. But you're always going to have to stay on top of it because the stuff's always changing. It's a nightmare running our own firm, having to put processes together to manage our clients' ads when the platforms are changing. And it's always what works today isn't going to be what works tomorrow. I mean, the fundamentals are staying the same, but how you do it is always changing over time. So typical process, the new guy should start out with in terms of learning this process and going through it to build a successful, profitable after expenses ad campaign for themselves should go through this order, given that, this isn't the order that I do it, but this is the way that you should do it because you're new. You're trying to figure this out for yourself for the first time, how to do this. So the first thing you optimize for is targeting. The number one thing you got to get up front before anything else, realize who you need to target. And that means fundamentally, if you can, taking your customer list, if you've already been in business, and identifying what makes those customers unique, how much money they make, what's their age, what's their gender, what do they like, what they don't like, what they've bought before, what they haven't bought before, and doing massive research on your customer. So that at least when you set up these ads, it's actually, you've cut out most of the waste right up front. Because and you know how to speak their language, so to say. So you want to do that right up front. And then furthermore, once you found out all the information that I just told you about, then you have to find out where they're actually at online. We've had people that sold software that were only good for certain types of buyers in certain industries. And the client came to us initially saying, hey, this software does file management. And I say, okay, great. Let's go ahead and get people to download the software. But the reality is they started using the software. We got them the free trials, but they didn't last very long as a customer. And when you sell software, it's all about lifetime value of a customer and churn rate. That is the rate in which they drop off. Well, we found out later they're only good for audio engineers and certain, professions that actually use that, their core group of customers that stay for, life or a long term. That's what they are. So we wasted all this freaking time to set up this really good campaign to get these users at a certain rate per user that should have been profitable. And we had to just gut it and start all over again. So don't be like that. Figure out who buys and why they buy up front before you do anything else, which I know it's super tempting to just set up an ad real quick because you can do it in 15 minutes and you're going to be rich and all this. Or, for that matter, get it out of your system and do that and realize it doesn't work. Then, start working the actual process like I'm talking about. But for that matter, once you know who buys, you can see out where they're at. You can, are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Google search? Are they on, some website even? Because the beauty about it, online advertising is you literally can find an audience for anything. You can find somebody who likes, listening to rap music and is a grandma and likes knitting. And you can actually, with the power of targeting on the internet, you can do this. You could target exclusively them. You can find out, they like, that person is on YouTube. And we could set up our ad so that only those people that have those exact traits while they're on YouTube will actually see it. It's not a matter of if you can make money doing what you're doing, selling what you're selling. If there's an actual market for it, you're not selling polished dog turds that nobody wants. It's just a matter of figuring out what platform and then how to set up the targeting to get in front of exactly those people, given that the golden rule is the more people see your ad, ultimately when you launch your ad that do not want what you have, the less profitable your campaign is going to be because they call it pay-per-click advertising. You're paying per click, but really that's a misnomer. It's pay per impression. The more times an ad's seen, the more it costs you. The higher the click-through rate on your ad, the lower the cost per click. So your goal is to get in front of the only people that buy so that every single person who sees the ad is going to click through at a super high rate. Therefore, your traffic to your website is going to be super cheap. And then that's the way to make money. Because the misconception at the beginning of everybody's journey is, let's blast this, booty cream out to everybody. And the 1.001% of people who want this will see it and buy. And the reality is that's not efficient or profitable. You got to find the people who actually want that. What makes them unique, and then only show it to them. Got to know that up front. And then once you got your targeting figured out, then you can focus on your landing page. What do you need to say on the page you're going to be eventually taking people to from your ad campaign to actually get them to want to buy. People don't want to take the time to go read all your competitors' landing pages, all your competitors' product pages, all your competitors' reviews. More importantly, go to every single review on Amazon of all your direct competition, read every single review that they've had. Yes, it's boring. Yes, it seems ridiculous to do this, but you're going to learn more doing that than absolutely anything else you could do to make your ad campaigns work, because you're going to see exactly what they're bitching about, what they care about, what they like, what they don't like, and all that. And then you can use that on your landing page so that when somebody says, hey, I didn't like this dog treat that I bought because it smells like fish, you can consider putting on your landing page, dog treats that do not smell like fish. And that's copywriting. Good copywriters that write text for ads, landing pages, this is what really makes them good, frankly. Yes, they get good at writing. Yes, that's important. But more than half of it is just understanding what to write and doing massive research before you even do any writing. Because once you know exactly what will tickle someone's ear, you don't even have to be a good writer. You can just put what they give a shit about on the page and you'll basically make money now. Okay? Figuring out what people want, what they don't want. Do they want a guarantee? Do they want a warranty? Do they want a 200% money back guarantee? This is other stuff that you want to learn. Are people mainly focused about quality? Okay, maybe we say it's made in the USA. So anyway, I won't get into all the details on that, but you focus on the landing page at that point in time. And if more importantly, if your campaign's not working because you're running an ad right now, you focus on fixing the targeting first, then you focus on fixing the landing page. Because if the targeting ain't right, nothing of what you're going to do is ever going to work, no matter how good the landing page is, no matter how good the ad is. And then once you've done that, and it's actually finally getting in front of the exact people who care about what you're trying to sell, then you can focus on making the landing page better. And if you're not using a landing page, make one. Even if you're doing e-commerce, make one. Because now you can have a conversation with the user instead of just telling them in a couple paragraphs what you want to tell them. Putting video testimonials on there and getting, reviews from influencers and stuff like that. But then ultimately, if your campaign ain't working, the next stop, once you got it showing up for the right person finally, that is at least 1% of the audience that you're trying to target are buyers. That's your goal, 1% or greater. That's the 1% rule that I came up with and used for years at our agency to guarantee our clients results of their campaigns. So for that matter, the landing page, okay, what on the landing page can we do? Make it so the people that are clicking the ad right now, that they're actually going to care more about buying than they did before. What do we have to know that we don't know to get on the page? Which, frankly, half of the landing page, by the way, is what you're saying, and then half of it is how it's laid out. You could have all the, celebrity endorsements. You can have customer video testimonials, which are all great things that will increase conversion rates. You can have all this stuff. But if you don't lay it out on the page so that you have the proper, what is called eye flow on the page, in terms of what they're looking at first, and then second, and then third, and then fourth, and so forth, so that it's not confusing and they get the information in a logical progression, you're not going to convert either. So you got to understand how to lay out a page. Good landing page designers know how to lay out content on a page so it's logical and not confusing. And then half of it's just the information itself. And not just saying what people want to hear, but also going the extra mile. And like I said, getting a celebrity endorsement, getting a video testimonial from a customer, getting a case study. Why? Because it helps. Here's the key thing. The number one thing that stops you from getting sales is people not believing what the hell you're saying. If they believed already that you were the best in the market, they would just buy already. So what can you do to convince them that you're the best? That's what you're ultimately doing on that page. Most people are going to say, I'm not going to pay for no, influencer to review this, or I'm not going to do this. Well, ultimately, you're asking the consumer to trust you when they don't know who you are. If they already do business with you, that'd be one thing, but you're asking a stranger to trust you. You don't trust strangers, so why are you expecting someone else to do it? Anyway, you can optimize the landing page. Then only after those targeting and landing pages are optimized, you go to the ad. A lot of people are going to start with the ad. Oh, maybe the ad needs to be refreshed. Or maybe the ad, it's not the right thing on the ad. Granted, if your ad is confusing, you're selling hair dye, and you're saying, this is a colorful twist to put on your head. Yes, you're confusing them so much at that point in time, your campaign's never going to work. even if the first two parts of the equation here are on point completely. But when you start out your campaign, just make sure the ad says what you're doing, hair dye for sale, price, and that's good enough for stage one. Then you're gonna go and start your journey with the targeting, get that on point. And then once the targeting and landing page is as good as you think you can get it, now you can start messing with your ad to get the click-through rate up. Given the higher the click-through rate, the higher your ROI is gonna be, because higher click-through rates always mean more ROI because you're getting more out of the ad impressions that you have to pay for either way, like I was mentioning earlier. Because you're not paying per click, you're paying per impression or per time the ad shows up. And I don't care if it's Google search or whatever you're talking about. It's always pay per impression. You are going to try to figure out what will get the person to click on your ad more. And sometimes it's offering a warranty. Sometimes it's saying we have it in all colors. You have to figure that out ultimately. And so, but like I said, in summary here, the main thing that screws people up is the targeting, because they don't understand how to target their consumer. If they could get in front of 10 people that were going to buy this month already from your market, and you did a really shitty job, you're still going to make probably at least one sale, because that's kind of how it is. Versus they focus on the landing page and the ad, they don't get it in front of the right people. They just keep spending their tires forever. And for that matter, there's always a place online where you can find those people. And it may be buying even a banner ad on a dedicated website in order to get in front of the exact buyer who buys from you. Because you can do that too. There's always a place to get in front of them. If you've done the research, you can find a place to buy an ad from. People like money. You offer them money, you get your ad there. Now you're in front of the person you want. The key thing with all this is, once you've went through this process, you go back up here to the targeting and you do it all over again. Like I was mentioning before, this is a never-ending process. You keep optimizing. Now, eventually you can stop optimizing your ads and be already making tons of money and you can get by with that. But generally speaking, for a while, for at least a few months, if not a few years, you're going to go through this process again. You're going to go back up here after optimizing your ad. You're going to optimize your targeting again. What do we know after looking at the conversion data that we have on who buys and who doesn't buy, to single out the part of it where people don't buy, so our targeting is better than we had before? If you have the tracking right, which I've put on here on the board, focus on tracking first. Before you run a single ad and go through and even begin the targeting, you first got to figure out the tracking. You got to be able to track when somebody buys or doesn't buy. And if you're generating leads, you got to be able to track who buys and who doesn't buy with offline conversion tracking. So you have real data on who's buying and who's not buying. Because ultimately, even if your ads are not profitable, you can figure out from the tracking results that you have and drilling down and looking at the data you have, what part of what you did didn't work, and get rid of it so that it is profitable. So that every dollar you spend, it gets you closer to your goal just purely by process of elimination. A lot of people get excited to advertise for the first time. They don't even care about tracking. They're just so excited about getting started, becoming rich, that they just skip over that step. Do it from the get-go. So 3 months in, when you're not profitable, at least if you're at least somewhat close, you might just already be one tweak away to be profitable. That is getting rid of mobile traffic, or getting rid of mails, or getting rid of people that are broke, lower income, which you can do on most ad platforms. But you go back and you fix your targeting look at your tracking data that you have, tweak your targeting a bit more. Then you go back to your landing page. Okay, with the landing page, what else can we conclude we took in all this information, we made a good enough landing page. What did we not put on the page after just thinking it through that maybe that really should have been added to the landing page? Okay, let's set up a new landing page with that on it, and let's just split test. It was send half the traffic to the one, half the traffic to the other, and figure things out. Then you go back to your ad again. Okay, what we learned about the landing page that should have been on the page originally, what wasn't, should that be on the ad? Okay, so you take what you learned about the landing page, that goes on the ad. Given that, here's the key thing people don't know and realize also, one of the most common mistakes is people don't match what's on the ad to what's on the landing page. It creates a disconnect. They do it all the time with Google search ads. They don't want to create a custom landing page for every keyword they're targeting. And then when people get to the page and they were typing in siding companies and they get to a landing page that says, we do roofing and siding and blah, 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 the user is confused, or they, at the very least, they think that you're not a specialist and then they just leave. You got to give them what was announced on the ad on the landing page if you're going to make any serious money with ads most of the time. And then you go back to your targeting again. So you see how this is just a never-ending process. What you learn along the way allows you to make optimizations to the other parts of the formula, if you will. What you learn about the targeting allows you to tweak your landing page. Well, males are not basically profitable. Can we put a picture of a chick only on the page? Okay, well, we know that. So maybe on the ad, we say, ladies, blah, blah, blah. So you get what I'm saying here. And so that is, in a nutshell, the process of how to learn how to do PPC successfully. Now, I will say, now that you understand this, I should say, you have to still know where to get your information from to learn how to do each one of these individual components, right? And what are the little techniques that allow you to know what to test. That is exactly what you're going to get on this channel exclusively, because most of the other crap you find on YouTube and elsewhere, it's very surface level crap. They're not going to tell you anything basically that useful. They'll tell you the basic stuff because they're catering to the masses. People don't want to watch this content on this channel mostly because it makes their brain hurt because it's too technical. But that's frankly the stuff that pushes your ads forward. It's not going to be an easy click this button and you're done. Now, there's some of the stuff I talk about that is like that. But if you're going to become a multi-millionaire running ads for your business, you got to watch a few videos and understand and learn from somebody that's been doing it 20 years in the weeds, doing it 40 hours a week as a strategist for the dozens of clients that we have, and giving you real working knowledge in real time about what works and what doesn't work with the ads. I got all that for free on this channel. So you just got to subscribe and learn. And of course, you're not going to learn it in a day. And that's what stops people from really doing anything with their ads or ever becoming successful with it. You're going to watch a video, you're going to apply. There's one technique. Okay, that got you some results. You're going to watch another video. Okay, that got me some results. And it's just going to keep going. And each video that you watch, now you know another technique, another one, and you may get 10% results here, another 10% here. Pretty soon now, you're making good money. And that's how it's really learned. I mean, when I started out, I didn't have all this. 2005, when you started out trying to run ads, you were lucky to find any content on YouTube about running ads. And the content that I did find that I was watching, I was damn grateful for it. I mean, I watched the videos several times over. Today, ultimately, yes, it's got more complicated, so you have to watch more videos, but I'm going and breaking this stuff down really well in detail, and there's a lot more of it to learn from. I've got techniques everywhere from talking about price testing on your ad, doing monthly sales, doing customer appreciation sales, all these little things. So if you haven't subscribed already, you should. I've got a fantastic blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog. You can check that out as well. It's got great information there, in addition to what I have on this channel. Of course, if you raise your hand and say, hey, this is just too much for me, and you got money, of course, we can just do it for you at our agency. I mean, frankly, I always tell people that are on this channel, reach out to me at my firm. If you're doing less than 500,000 US a year in sales revenue, what you want to do is just do what I told you here. You watch, you learn, you get some basic results going with your ad campaigns. And then once you're up to that level, you let the pro handle it, because it's stupid to try to spend 20 years learning what I've learned when you could just hire me and I'm going to get you the results anyway. At the beginning, you're forced to, because you don't have the money, generally speaking, to dump into a top 1% ad expert to run your ads personally. But as like I said, at $500K a year and definitely at $1 million, it makes no sense to do it yourself, because even though you're good, I'm impressed by you guys that take these techniques, come back, you ask for an hour of consulting, I see what you did. It's really good, but it's still not nowhere near if I personally went through every step myself and set it up myself. And then even if we were to double the productivity, I mean, that's the difference between going from 500K a year to $1 million a year. Why would you not just hire the person at that point in time? So not to say you have to do that, but if you did want to, you can of course reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com. I guarantee you results up front. So if you don't get the certain results that we're telling you we're going to give you up front, then there's no management fee. No other agency does that. You can hire me for a coaching or consulting call as well. I mean, if you are learning, like I said, you can come back to me and be like, hey, did I do this right? And I can tell you in 30 minutes whether you did it right and what's the next best thing to do. I also have that as well. So, and I work with agency owners and companies alike. I also have ad templates available. The easiest hack to get results working in a market. Like if you're just trying to, let's say, make money, you don't care how. You could come to us and take one of our ad templates that work for a certain niche market. You run it and you get the results we did in that market, such as we've had people that would take our template for the tree services market. They'd run the campaign. It generates leads at a super cheap cost. Then they take those leads, they sell them to somebody else in the market, or they take the call and then they call somebody else and say, hey, can you do this job? How much will you charge? And then they're just middlemaning it. And you already have a profitable business already, mainly because most of the guys in that market don't know how to run ads the way that you would, given that you have the template. And now you have a working business already. So anyway, we've got hundreds of niche templates because we've been in business over a decade. If you want one of those templates, let me know. I can tell you the results you're going to get with it up front and everything else. I know this is probably not as fun of a, and I didn't give you the information you wanted in a nice little package. And it may seem a little self-serving telling you to watch the content on this channel as a way to learn PPC, but I personally don't know of any other content that you can find that goes over as much detail as I have on this channel. Now, there's some other good YouTube channels. They're still not quite at the same level. And if you did want some other good channels of people that I've personally watched and learned from, you can leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, not only about the topic at hand, but any marketing related question. You can ask me there and I'll point you in the direction of those as well, because I don't want to seem like the only information you can get is here, because it's not. It's just 98% of the crap online is not very useful. And then, if you have any questions for me, or you want to learn from other people that follow this channel that, frankly, the people that watch this channel and follow it are very smart and very on top of it. You can find those in the group that I've started where we're talking amongst each other. You can find the link to the Discord group that I have and built in the video description. I've got a free PPC course in there in addition that I would highly encourage you to check out as another way to learn and get started with what you're doing. But with that said, yeah, that's pretty much it. So I wish I had this advice when I first started in Framework, whereas, I watched what I could, got what I could, and I had to mainly just brute force trial and error it myself. You don't have to, because I've compiled the 20 years of experience that I've had to learn all this stuff into this channel, and now you can just get it for free. You don't have to look far and wide for it. So hopefully that really was helpful for you, and I get to hear from you in the near future that, hey, I was really successful, because I love hearing those stories. Let me know if you have any questions. You can reach out to me, and I'll try to do my best to explain the situation you're in, what I would do in your situation. So thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.